It's almost 6:35. We'll start the session. Good evening, everyone. I'm Manakal, President of Organizing Committee Project Cybersify. Before starting the session, I'll brief you on our project. Cybersify is one of the IGV project powered by ISAC in Colombo North, mainly focusing on IT and education. In this particular series of discussion, we try to acknowledge ourselves on bridging the gap between the university education-based knowledge of an undergraduate and the real requirements and the needs of the corporate sector. Today, we are lucky to have Mr. Kavindu Narathota, a technical product manager at a leading software company, all the way from the Canada, as the keynote speaker to enlighten us on the next step after graduation. We wish to further our knowledge on how to enter the tech industry and how to market our own brand in this particular industry. Before starting, a small reminder. Mute your microphones and turn off your cameras unless you want to address the session. We highly encourage you to ask questions related to the topic. You can use the Slido or the chat box to present your questions while listening to the speaker as they pop up in your mind. The Slido link was given to you through our last WhatsApp message. I have also included the same link in the chat. If there were any power failure or connectivity interruption, and I plead you to be patient and wait without leaving. So enough of my chatting. Now for the better expertise. He has been in the technical industry for more than 7 years, working for Sri Lankan and foreign companies as a senior engineer and a team leader and an administrative director of a non-profit organization helping Sri Lankan students to figure out their higher education opportunities. A certified Scrum Master, a Toastmaster, and a trainer. Mr. Kavindu Narathota, sir, the podium is yours.
All right. Thanks for that introduction, Manakal. I hope you guys can hear me properly. Yeah. All right. So before getting into the presentation, I thank Manakal and the organizing team to putting something together for the benefit of everyone who's attending this meeting. Because when I was an undergrad, we didn't have any, we had opportunities like that, but unfortunately it was not detailed and it was not thorough. So most of the things when we got into the industry, so it was like self-learning and we figured it out by our own. So that being said, let us get to the presentation and the discussion which I'll be following on. And as Manakal said, if you guys have any questions, anything to follow up, please post it in the Slido chat or put it in the Zoom chat, and we'll sort it out, because I already have some of the questions which you have already asked, and I'll be going through some of them as well. And we can easily we can filter some of the new questions and answer them as well. All right. That being said, let's get into the presentation. All right. All right. So this presentation, this speech is entirely about what comes after bachelor's degree, because you have done your highest, you have done your high school and everything for 13 years, and after that you have completed your almost completed your bachelor's degree, so degree for 3-4 years, and now we are stepping into the industry. And now you have to get an idea about what the industry is expecting you, how to prepare yourself, and what are the things you have to again prepare yourself how to tackle the industry and get the best out of the industry. So this presentation will be an insight into what you'll be faced when you enter the tech industry. All right. So before getting into the topic, let me give a brief introduction about myself. So I graduated with the first class in computer science from National University in Ireland. And for the many years, I've been working for local and foreign tech industries, large organizations in Sri Lanka, as well as in different other countries. Right now, I'm working as a technical product manager, overlooking several engineering projects in a leading software company in Canada. And prior to that, I worked as an administrative director for a not-for-profit organization. So what we did there was we helped Sri Lankan high school students, people who have just finished their A-levels, to figure out their higher education opportunities, whether to study in Sri Lanka, whether to go abroad. So we provided all those information and helped them to figure out their higher education opportunities. And other than that, I have my own several startups, which is one of my startup was listed as one of the top 10 startups in 2016 in Sri Lanka. And other than that, I've been a Toastmaster for 5-6 years now. I've been going for speech competitions and doing all sort of Toastmasters things. And other than that, one more thing, I'm a certified Scrum Master, which which I'll be discussing in length in the presentation, and how to get all these certifications and how to improve yourself. Other than that, again, like this one, I've been speaking in many national and corporate forums, helping everyone to speaking on different topics. And I've been writing I've been writing a lot, and I published few articles and research papers as well. And one last thing, as a hobby, I'm an amateur cook. So that's all about me. And now let's get into the agenda. So during this session, I'm planning to cover this session in 1 hour. Hopefully, we'll be able to wrap everything up based on the questions and the things we'll have to discuss. And during this session, we'll be going through 4 main areas. First thing is, where are you right now? And these are few subtopics we'll be discussing there. Your undergraduate years, what are basically the knowledge factor, and your financial status, how that's how that defined where you are right now. And the next point being strength and weaknesses. So you have to figure out what are you good at, what's your strengths, and also what are your weaknesses, because that will definitely have a huge impact on where you are going in the future. And then I'll give you a brief understanding about the industry, tech industry as a whole, as well as some other industries. And this is just maybe like a small piece of the huge, big cake, because speaking about the industry, that might take several hours, but I'll try to give you a better idea about how things are working in the industry and how to prepare yourself. And lastly, we'll be taking a look back and how you can balance career growth and personal growth. Basically, you might heard this term when you enter the industry, personal life and work and personal life balance. So how you can get it done. And at last, we'll be discussing how to leave a mark in the tech industry, because that's the most important thing, whether you work for a startup, whether you work for a big corporation, or whether you are freelancing. So that's the most important thing we'll be discussing in this presentation. All right. So let's start with the first question. And before going on with the presentation, as I mentioned, if you have any questions at any part of the presentation, please submit it through Slido, so we can quickly go through them and answer your questions. Because the main purpose of this presentation is to give you guys, help you guys to understand, answer your questions, and help you guys to understand how to the industry expectations and how to prepare yourself. All right. All right. So that being said, the first part of this presentation is where are you right now? So I always say that before thinking about where to go next, you have to understand where you are right now. That's the most important thing, because otherwise, if you don't know where you are right now, then there's no point of planning the next step. So the first thing we'll be discussing here is undergraduate years, because I believe that you guys are in your third or final year of your degree program. And now you've been studying computer science for more than 3 years. And if you have studied computer science for maybe in your high school when you're doing A-levels, so that means altogether 5-6 years. So now you should be able, you should have a good understanding about theories. So when I say theories, you should know all the data structures, stacks, queues, a linked list, whatnot. So you should have a good understanding about that. So let's say that you have an understanding and you know about a little bit about algorithms as well, sorting algorithms, searching algorithms. Likewise, you have an understanding about that as well. So right now you should make sure that you know the basic principles and basic concepts of these topics, because that's something you should know when you are completing your undergraduate degree. And the next step is programming languages. I'm not 100% sure about your curriculum, but at this point, at least you should know about know to write a hello world program in maybe 10-15 programming languages. Because when I was doing my undergraduate degree, one of the main things we were trying to do is learn as much as possible, as much as programming languages as possible. We used to write hello world, just a hello world program. So when we write a hello world program, we said that okay, we are expert in this programming language. So that's how naive we were, and that's not actually being naive. That's the reality at that time, because everything we were taught is to learn a programming language. It could be in C, C++, Java. But when you actually get into the industry, you'll see that if you are not going with any assembly programming or any kernel level programming, you might not actually write any codes with C. So that's the reality. So even though at this time, if you're expert in several one or two programming languages, that's a good thing. But right now, you should at least be familiar with few of the programming languages. And next up, operating systems. So if you might go through some of the job postings in maybe like Indeed or Glassdoor or anything, like for a software engineer, they're asking, not even in foreign countries, even in Sri Lanka, they're asking for expertise in operating system. Because the reason being, like some of the companies some of the companies even in Sri Lanka, they are not using Windows platform, and some of the companies are not using Windows or Mac either. Like they are entirely based on Linux operating system. So in order to get an idea about that, you should be able to like play around with the different OSs, maybe like learn how to live boot an operating system and play around with that. So these things you should already be familiar with. And the next thing, guys, please let me know if I'm going too fast. I can slow down. And just because we have a lot of content, that's why I'm rushing through some of these basic concepts, because you should be already familiar with these things. All right. So the next point being web and mobile development, because this is the you can actually say that this is the future of development, because most of the things, most of the standalone applications are being converted into web-based systems. That's because it's easier to access. You don't have to install anything. You just have to go to a web platform. So right now, you should at least be able to like know. You should at least know about few of the frameworks, like front-end frameworks, back-end frameworks. For web and like when it comes to mobile, you should at least like, it doesn't matter whether you can like write a program, like write a mobile app. At least you should know, like when it comes to iOS app, you can use Swift, Objective-C to write like native iOS app. And if you are writing an Android app, then the base of that, based of the Android, like base of writing Android application is Java. So you should know about that. So basically, like you should have a small idea about like how things work. And the last and like I could say one of the most important thing, like when you get into the technical industry, you'll be working in projects. You'll be working with maybe like 5-6 people in your project. So in that case, you should have an idea about project life cycles. I believe you have already gone through like project life cycle, waterfall, Scrum, Agile, these concepts. So in that case, like it's a good thing to have an idea, understanding about how these things work, and have a better understanding about that when you are completing your undergraduate years. So these are all the theories which I have gone through, and the next point being practicals. So I believe you have worked on a Java application or C++ or C# application, maybe like a calculator or maybe like a POS system or something like that. So at least you should be able to connect that application to a database. So the reason why I'm saying this is because this is the most simple thing you can actually you have the ability to get it done within when you are doing undergraduate. Because I know like there are exceptional cases who are doing who are going up and beyond, but the minimum requirement being at least if you can get an idea about like how to get something like this done, then that's a huge win and that's a huge advantage for you. And the last practical thing you should be able to like figure out is troubleshooting. If you see an error in your console, like how to make sure, like how to figure out what, like where you have to fix in order to get this error resolved. So those are these are the basic things you should be able to figure out right now, have an understanding about when in your undergraduate years. And before moving into the next section, do you have any questions about this section? All right, if not, let's move to the next section. All right. Now this is an interesting part. Like what kind of knowledge you have. Like what's your knowledge level? So in this case, we can say basically like converting your undergraduate theories into practical knowledge. Again, so like when you're figuring out where you are right now, you should be able to, like as I mentioned, like you should be able to convert your theories into real life knowledge. So if you talk about technical stuff, again, setting up a DB. So that's a pretty, like if you have experience with the Microsoft Workbench, then I think you can easily cover this part up. And then installing an ID and configuring it. I'm not sure whether you guys have any DreamSpark or any free software for your student ID card. But if you do, please download all these commercial IDs and start playing around with them, because all like most of the companies in Sri Lanka as well as in foreign countries are using commercial level IDs. So to give you give you guys few example, one would be IntelliJ platform, WebStorm, IntelliJ IDEA, PHP Storm. So based on the platform you're working, you should have an idea about how to use, how to configure, and how to build, how to debug in those IDs. And if not, at least maybe Eclipse. That's a good idea, but a little bit confusing. And then we have this free and what's that? Give me a second. It's Microsoft, like built by Microsoft, and it's a free ID and used in many companies. That's a really good one. So make sure that you have an idea about all these IDs and how to configure them. So that's something which industry is expecting from an undergraduate. So by this time, you should be able to figure out those things by yourself. And the next thing being installing an OS. So you might not experience this when you get into an industry because there are several different departments to set up your computer and get everything done. But at least you should have the basic knowledge of installing an OS. It could be Windows. Like we all know how to install Windows, but do you know how to reboot a Mac computer? Or do you know how to live boot a Linux OS? So those are few technical things you should know right now. At least if not, if you are like not certain about these topics, maybe like you can take some time while you are like working. Like during this time, you have so many like a lot of free time. I hope I don't think that you have so many lectures during the week. So if so, like maybe take some time and go through these things and try to figure things out. And next, you should have an idea about like what are the company types in Sri Lanka, because all right. So what are the company types in Sri Lanka? Because you'll be stepping into an industry. If you don't know about the industry, then that's going to be really difficult because there are several like even in the tech industry there are several company types. So one being product companies, service companies. So and there are some non-tech companies as well. Like I saw some of the questions which you guys ask about like is it good to join a bank if you have an IT degree? So likewise. So you should know about these company types and what are the companies you can join, what are the industries you can focus on. So you should know these things because like learning all these things within 3 months is not going to be easy. But if you have if you gradually like increased your knowledge up to a certain level, then it will be easier for you to like when you're figuring out the next step. And the next thing being tech stacks. Let's say if we take ABC company as an example, we take ABC company, and if you're focusing to get into that company, you should have an idea about what are the tech stack that company is using. It could be if they're using Java as the backend, then at least you should have a basic idea about Java. If they're using Angular as the front end, even in that case, you should have an idea about that. So as I said, like if you're going to focus on a given company, make sure that you have an understanding about their tech stack and how they're working in like how they're working in the company and all this information. So next point is how you are going to get that information. Is it connection? Yes, Manaka.
So if we know some basic stuff about Java, will it be enough to enter like?
So that depends. So I'll be explaining like with your knowledge. Like, okay, I'll answer it right now. So if you let's say if you know about basic stuff, let's say maybe like write the public class and maybe like export some like basically like get a standalone application done up to a certain level. That's enough because I don't think that you guys have completed your internship. And have you completed like how about your batchmate? Like they have they completed their internship or?
No. Most of them are. So I think the most of the participants are from second year and third year, so they are not
Oh,
haven't completed the internship yet.
all right. So to get into an internship, having the basic knowledge, having the theoretical knowledge is more than enough because basically the internship interview is basically you will be getting a question paper and you just have to write answers to that question paper. So having the basic, that's why I said like when you're completing your undergraduate years, you should have at least you should be 100% certain about your basic theory, basic knowledge, basic Java concepts. Same as your exam paper, write a Java class in the question paper, answer paper, and send it to the interviewer. So it's simple as that. So having basic knowledge is more than enough to get an internship. But if you're going to get into a permanent position, that's much tricky because when you're applying for a permanent position, they are expecting you to have basic internship knowledge, basic theory knowledge. So those kind of things, that's a little bit tricky. And I'll explain what are the industry expectations when you're entering the industry. So in a situation like that, that's entirely different. But I think I hope, yeah, I hope I answer your question. Sure, don't worry. All right. So, as I was saying, like how you're going to get an idea about the tech stack which a company is using is through connections, because you should be like you should go to all these meetups. I know it's really difficult right now, but most of the companies are organizing virtual meetups. So in a situation like that, you should connect with company experts and talk to them, not to get the job per se, but still maintain a connection, ask about the companies, ask about like what kind of industry they are in. So maintaining this kind of a connection is really good for the future, as well as salary scales, because as I mentioned, you will have to look into your financial situation. So having a knowledge about salary scales is a good thing, and that will help you to make the decision. Because all the things you should know about. These are all the things which will impact your next level decision. So it's always a good thing to know about all these kind of things. And lastly, the last point which I'll be discussing in this subtopic is higher education plans. If you have a plan to like pursue with your masters and PhDs in computer science or any other field, so you should know about that right now, and you should plan for that. You should have a plan for that, because there are some people who are like who have plans for masters or PhDs, but they will get into the tech industry and then they'll stop your higher education plans then and there, and they will not pursue that higher education plan. So that's a huge waste. So what I would recommend is like have an idea about what you want and what you need, and then plan your next step accordingly. All right. So this is an interesting point which I wanted to discuss. Like even there's another point which I wanted to discuss, but unfortunately this is something we can't skip, because financial status is something really critical, really important, which most of us are not even thinking about. But this is the major changing factor of all the decisions we are going to make in our life. So whether okay, I'll take 3 examples. All right. So let's say we have. Give me a second. All right. So we have 3 people. Person A, who has like his family is supporting him, and he doesn't have like, even though he got into university and he's studying, and he doesn't have any family pressure and he doesn't have any financial pressure, so he can like work on anything. And maybe once he's done with his bachelor's, he might like his parent might be supporting him to go for a master's and get the PhD and work on like that. So his career plan is already planned by his family. So having a good financial status has helped him a lot in order going through his maybe like higher education plan. The second person B, who has who has family wealth and the family is backing him up, and even though he doesn't like now, he doesn't want to go with his higher education opportunities, and he's okay with having a small job, like not having a big pressure, just to like go to the job, come and just to have the industry experience. So in that case, he can go for a low paying job in a small company. But so yeah, low paying job in a small company. And there's another one. So he might not be have the family backing, but still he'll be joining a small company for the growth factor, because small companies are always growing. Like they are testing out different technologies, they are testing out different markets. So that's a huge growth opportunity for undergraduates to start their journey in, because that's you'll get so many opportunities, like to figure out some technologies, figure out some logic. So that's a good thing. And the last person might join a high paying job in a big company. So that person might need to like make money as much as possible within a short period of time. So that person can join a high paying job in a big company. But unfortunately, some of these high paying jobs, because they have so many employees in their company, the career progression is a little bit I would say a little bit slow. So if you're trying to get maybe like into a good position within 5-6 years, then that might be a difficult situation if you're going for a big company. I'm not saying all the companies are like that. This is just an example. So as I mentioned, like your financial status has a huge impact on where you are going in your next step. So knowing that right now, and knowing like what you're going to do right now is really good. Is a good thing, because uh, otherwise you might have so many plans for the future, but if you don't have proper planning, then you'll jeopardize everything. And last thing I'll discuss because this is a topic which I'm rushing through, because I think everyone has experiences in this topic. and it's a personal experience. So again, the last point being personal commitments. This could be whether you're planning to get married in 5 years, or soon as you're done with your undergraduate degree, or maybe start a family in maybe 5 6 years. So those kind of things, or you have to support your parents once you're done. When you get a job, you have to support your parents or family, or your support your siblings for your higher education. So those kind of personal commitments, you should be aware of those things, and you should plan your career according to those things. So that's the last point which I'm discussing under this financial status. And do you guys have any questions, anything to clarify under this one? Or shall we okay, let's take all the questions in the Q&A section. All right. So this point, strength and weaknesses, because whatever you are doing, you should know your strengths and you should know your weaknesses. Under this section, I'll be discussing two main areas. And there are so many things we can discuss under this one, but right now I think these are the main two things which will impact your decision. The first thing being, what am I good at? All right, so not everyone is the same. Let's say, Manakal, you might be really good with front-end development. You might be really good with graphic design, and you're really good with front-end development. So you should know what you're good at, and you should plan your career according to that. So there's a downside to that. If you're good with front-end development and if you're good with graphic design, you should know whether that's my first point. Is what I'm good at is the same thing which I want to do, is the same thing which I want to do. Let's say if you are really good at graphic design and you are really good with front-end design, that might be your hobby, but is that the same thing you want to do as a career? So that's a question you have to ask yourself and get the answer soon as possible. And the next thing, whatever I'm planning to do in my as my career, let's say, not non-technical path as well. Let's say you have to shoot photos and you want to be a photographer. Will that career path make enough money to make a living out of that? So that's a decision you have to make right now. So when it comes to different sectors in the tech industry, the job pay scale is very different. It could be really high, it could be really low, not really low, up certain point low. So that you have to figure out whether the thing I'm good at, whether the thing I like to do will make enough money for me to make a living out of that. So that's something you have to make sure make sure you figure it out, and make whatever your decision a strength for you, because that's how you're going to plan your future. And the last but most important thing, will I be happy? Will I be happy by doing what I do, what I'm going to do? So from my personal experience, I started my journey as a data analyst, engineering in the data analyst department. And then I moved into full stack development. And then I focused on product development. And now I'm working as a product manager and overlooking several projects, because that's what makes me happy. So whatever decision you are taking, whatever decision you are going to make based on what you are good at, should by end of the day should make you happy. So that's the most important thing you have to look into. And all right, this is a really funny part to discuss, because under the weaknesses I'll be discussing family pressure, because all right, so I'm not saying this will happen, this will be the same for everyone, but there are some situations which your family will fall, it's the same as selecting a career, selecting a higher education path. Just because your auntie's daughter is a doctor, your parents might push you to become a doctor, even though you don't want to do that. Just because it's the same as when you get into the industry, because your family will always want the best for you. So they will always push you to become the best version of yourself, even though they might not know whether it will make you happy or not. So they might push you to do specifically that to make more money, because by end of the day, given the social situation in the country as well as in the world, more money you make, the more happy you will be. At least that's the expectation, and that's what people believe in. So your family might push you to do that job to make more money. And again, you might, I'm not sure whether you have heard of this term, going on site. So basically, going on site as in if you're working for a US client, they might pay you to visit that country and work there for maybe 5-6 months and come back to Sri Lanka if you're working in Sri Lanka. So that's basically on site. So your parents might say that, okay, Kamala's son is going on site, he's going to US. Why can't you go and take a job in that company? Even though they might say that, but that person might be doing some, let's say, back-end work, and you are not fully fund with backend development. So you can't actually go and work for that company. So in a situation like that, you have to like those kind of a thing will have a huge pressure in you. Like will make you make good decisions into bad decisions. And the last thing, high hopes, low planning. I kind of touched this in the previous section as well. So let's say if you're planning to get if you're planning to retire retire when you're 40, and you have high hopes, you might say that okay, I'm going to make 1.5 million per month when I'm 30, and I'm going to like save as much as possible, and then I'm going to retire. And now you're 25, and you are planning to earn maybe like 1 million LKR when you are 30. So, and you're not doing anything at all. You're not like, you're just going out with friends, you're spending your savings, and you're not doing anything at all. But still you're not applying for jobs. You're not prepared. Like, even though you get an interview, you're not preparing for the interview. You're not polishing up your skills, but still you're planning to get 1 million when you're 30. So how would that happen? So that's why whatever the hopes you have, whatever the targets you have, you always have to work to that goal. That's why as a weakness, I could say family pressure. Even though you have high hopes, if you have low planning, then that's a really difficult situation you'll have to deal with. All right, so enough with the doom and gloom, and let's get into interesting stuff. All right, let's discuss about the tech industry. All right, so in tech industry, there are like you could categorize the tech industry into several areas, but the two main categories which I would say are product companies, are service companies. Because in Sri Lanka, there are product companies and service companies as well. So you should do your research and figure out what are the product companies and what are the service companies. I will not name any companies under this section because I will not be doing justice to any of those, like some of those companies. So I will not name any companies, but if you want to get more information, you can reach out to me and I'll help you out with figuring out these companies. All right. First thing being product company. So product companies are most of the time, startups are product companies, most of the startups. And there are some well-established companies in Sri Lanka as well. Product companies mean they have their own product. So Facebook is a kind of a product company. They started as a product company. They have their product. It's like they're selling their product, and now they're selling ads. That's a difference. That's part of the service companies. So product companies, let's say as an example, all right. So this is my product, and I'm selling this product to clients. So that's a product company. It could be a software product. It could be hardware product, which goes with products, goes with services, softwares. So that's a product company. And then they are selling that product to clients and provide after sales service. Let's say, let's take Zoom for an example. So I'm the CEO of the company Zoom, and I'm selling it to clients. And then like if they face with a bug, then I'm providing after sales service. Okay, I'll be fixing this bug, and likewise. So that's what they're providing after sales services. And in product companies, they always look for new product opportunities. So even though let's say right now their focus is on social networks, maybe they might be doing research on maybe agriculture. So product companies, their mindset is always try to figure out new things because they know that you can't live from a single product for a long time, because there will be competition. There will be competition, and also like the lifespan of a product is very limited. So if you like take Skype for an example. So back in the day, Skype was the one like dominated all these video calls, video conferencing. But right now, everyone is using either Google Meet or Zoom. No one is using Skype, right? So in a situation like that, you should always look into different product opportunities. So that's the product companies, and the service companies they are selling a service to clients. And you might know that when you're talking to I'm not sure when you're going through all these news articles and everything. Most of the Western countries are trying to like outsource their project to Indian market and Sri Lankan market, like all the Southeast Asian markets. The reason being, this like skill is cheap. They can get the same work done for a less amount of money, and they'll be doing the same code which everyone will be writing. So those kind of things are service companies. So the product owner will be someone else, and the service companies will provide a service to that client. They can take projects from different clients and provide and they can deliver the product by end of the period. And then in companies like this, the tech stack is continuously changing. The reason being, if a client is coming up with an Angular project, you have to make sure that you know Angular. If the client is coming up with a Python project, then you should know Python. So in a situation like that, service companies' tech stacks are continuously changing. So if you are into a challenge and if you want to like just write codes and not do products, then service companies are the option for you. All right. Now let's talk about different what do you call job titles, job roles in tech industry. So I'll start with the part which I started in, which is software engineering. So software engineering is I would say really fun, but a stressing job role, because you should be able, like you should definitely be good at what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll definitely get fed up with this part. So there are several types in software engineering, but I don't like this categorization, but unfortunately it's there. Front-end software engineers, back-end software engineers, and there's a like rare type of people called full stack engineer, because that's what actual software engineering is from my point of view. I'll explain. Okay, front-end software engineering is you're entirely focusing on getting done the front-end logic, like the things you are seeing in the front end. So it could be like doing CSS, like doing the following up with the front-end framework. It could be Angular, it could be Vue.js, it could be React.js. So doing the front-end parts. And the back-end development is writing the core of the product, writing the back-end structure, connecting it to a database. What else? Writing APIs to communicate with the front end. So people like some people might not like to work on backend because that's a little bit advanced. That's the place you implement all the logics. So maybe like for reasons like that. And there are some people who don't like to work in front end because they don't have that creative skill. They don't like to do CSS. They don't like to they might find it hard to like center a text in a div. So what I would say, try to familiarize yourself with both of these platforms and be a full stack engineer who can do front end, who can do back end, who can do deployment, who can connect it to a database. Be a jack of all trades. The reason being because most of the companies, like if you're practicing Scrum project management methods, in a situation like that, they're always looking for full stack engineers. Because in a situation for a full stack engineer, he or she will be able to like get everything done within a short period of time, and there won't be any dependencies. Like let's say if I'm a front end engineer and Manakali is a back end engineer, I'm done with my front end. I can't move into next section until Manakali is done with his back end. So if you're a full stack engineer, you can do the both parts and get the feature done in a quick manner. And the last type I'll discuss is mobile development. So some companies are hiring iOS developers, Android developers, but that's a vague hiring process, because if you're a mobile developer, specific native developer, then it's going to be difficult for you, because now there are frameworks built on JavaScript which will focus on mobile deployment. So if you have heard of Ionic framework, React Native, so all those things are like you'll be coding in JavaScript, but you will be pushing it as a mobile application. So I would not recommend to be a specific mobile developer, but if you are going to focus like if you're happy with working on mobile, I would recommend you to like maybe focus on some other framework as well. And the last thing is product engineering, which I focused on during my time as a software engineer. Product engineering is you are developing a product. You are just writing a code for a ticket. You're just thinking outside the box, plan the product, and then develop the product. So to become a product engineer, you should definitely be a full stack engineer, because you'll be doing the back end, you'll be doing the front end. So that's a little bit difficult, but an interesting path to select. So that's about the types of software engineering. So to become any kind of a software engineer, you should at least master 2 or 3 programming languages. One could be in front end, one could be in back end, and you should be familiar with front end styling. So let's say if you're familiar with Java, then maybe take a look at Angular, and because then you can connect Java backend into an Angular frontend and make a web application. So likewise, at least you should, as I mentioned, at least you should master, not to write hello world code, master at least 2 or 3 programming languages. And the next thing, having a good understanding about programming theories, data structures, algorithms. So everything you learn when you are in your undergraduate years, you should have good understanding about this. And again, this is something which you can't taught, but you have to get it from within yourself, is problem solving skills. Because as a software engineer, you'll be solving a problem. You'll be finding an answer to a question. So you should have that question, have that ability. And to improve this ability, you can keep on go to Stack Overflow and try to read some of the questions and try to come up with answers to them, and talk with your friends and do pair programming, and maybe like argue with your friends about different solutions. So that's how you improve your problem solving skills. And this is something you should know. You should be able to at least sit and work for 8 or more hours straight, because this is something really difficult, because for a software engineer, you should be able to focus on something and get the work done. So if you can't like stay still and focus on a question and like stay at an IDE and get the code, write the code, and then it's going to be a little bit difficult for you, because focus and being able to, like, as I may be, being able to focus on one thing for a long time is really essential for a software engineer. And lastly, if you are not good at what you do, and if you are not skilled, if you don't like software engineering, but you still select this path, then you will easily burn out. So burnout means like you'll fed up with the work you're doing and you can't focus on anything else. You'll get frustrated easily. So that's something you have to avoid. But if you select software engineering without knowing what you're getting into, then this will definitely happen. So keep an eye on this and make sure that you select the best path for you. So that's a quick rundown in software engineering, and the career progression for this path would be you'll start as a trainee software engineer, and then this is general path, and then you'll promote into an associate software engineer, and then software engineer, and then senior software engineer. And after that, then you'll promote into an associate technical lead, and then technical lead, senior technical lead, and then associate software architect, senior software architect. So to become an associate software architect, at least you should have experience for more than in the tech industry for more than 14-15 years. So that's the usual industry expectations. And so after that, then you might be able to become a head of software architecture and director of software architecture, head of engineering. And if you're working for someone else's company, then you can become the VP of engineering or a CTO. So that's a basic career progression. And again, this is pretty generic, because some of like the company culture which I'm working on, it doesn't have these 14 steps. They're like in the Western culture, they only have software engineers, senior software engineer, and principal software engineer. Only three designations. So in a situation like that, you should know where you are applying and the career path you have. So software engineering, as I mentioned, is an interesting path, but if it's not for you, then it's not for you. All right. Oh, we've talked for 50 minutes, and I think we are halfway done with the presentation. All right. So now let's talk about quality assurance. So again, quality assurance is an interesting part, because this is where people will test the software, what software engineer has developed. So usually, like in the corporate culture, software engineers and quality assurance engineers are always arguing, because software engineers are always trying to push a bug as a feature, but quality assurance QA people will not let that happen. So there are several types of quality assurance. One is manual, and one is automation. Manual is like you are going through like if it's a web platform, you're going through each and every component manually and test everything by yourself. And automation is like you're writing on an automation script and do everything, like you'll write a script to do everything which a manual QA will do. So to do that, you have to have an idea about you have to have basic programming knowledge, because you'll be writing automation scripts. And even in manual QA test, it's a good thing to have, as I mentioned, should have the basic programming knowledge. That's a huge advantage. And the third point being, all right, so QA framework, QA testing tools and mechanisms are updating regularly, because people are coming up with, as much as people are coming up with different questions, people will also come up with different testing mechanisms. So you should be able to update yourself with all the testing mechanisms, testing tools, and everything. And creative thinking, like thinking outside of the box, is an added advantage, because a software engineer will develop a solution based on the way he or she thinks. And if the QA, quality assurance engineer, can think in a different way and broke that flow, and like in a situation like that, so then that will come up with a different user flow, which the software engineer has not thought of. So in a situation like that, if you can think outside the box and come up with different scenarios, then that's always helps you to do a better testing. And as I mentioned, the last point being, you should be able to think outside the box. So the career progression of this path is trainee software quality assurance engineer, quality assurance engineer, senior quality assurance engineer, and associate quality assurance lead, quality assurance lead, uh, senior quality assurance lead, and then head of QA. So these are very generic format, and it could be different. It could be different from company to company. All right. So let's see, where are we right now? So all right, UX engineering. So as I mentioned, if you have an eye for creative part, and you can, if you are comfortable, that if you are confident that you can make something look good, then UX UI engineering could be the path for you, because this is where you update the UI, make it look good, add front end animations. So these kind of things a UX engineer will do. But not only that. So the UX means user experience. UI means user interface. These two are two different things. So as a UX engineer, you should be able to run design sprints. So design sprint is like, if a client is coming to me saying that this is my idea and I need to make this idea into a reality. So I should be able to conduct interview with the client and get his idea into a design flow, and do story mappings, and then vote for all these ideas, and do high fidelity designs, and then persona mappings. Likewise, all these things will come when you will have to do as a UX engineer. So that's a little bit difficult, but if you love what you're doing, then it's a really easy job if you actually love what you're doing. And again, as the career progression, it'll be trainee UX engineer, associate UX engineer, senior UX engineer, associate UX lead, senior UX lead, head of UX, and VP strategy. It could be in some companies. And then business analysis. All right, so business analysis. So this is business analysts are the people who are bridging the gap between software engineer and a client. So having a good communication skill is a must. So you'll be talking to the client, and if it's a product company, the business analyst will go from the first day of the project to the last delivery as well, because that person will always communicate with the client and understand the business, understand the way client thinks, business concepts, and translate that to the developer, and make sure that developer understands that, and then translate whatever the developer is doing to the client. So again, you should, if you are good with communication, if you are good with talking to people, selling a product, and also if you have a technical background, then business analysis might be the path for you, because it's a really interesting and a challenging work, which will which will basically bridge the gap between the client as well as the software company. So career progression, as I mentioned here, you can start as a trainee business analyst, and then go up until VP project and business. So that's the basic career progression. All right, and then last. All right. So the last point, okay, not the last point, one before last job category which I'll be discussing here is project management. So basically, this is a person who will be managing the project. And give me a second. All right, these are the people who will be managing the project, and you should have an idea about the entire project spectrum as well as the tech spectrum, and you should have a good communication and leadership skills. And then something really important is conflict resolution, because when you're working on a project, you might have to talk to few people, solve problems within the team. So if you have a good skill in conflict resolution, then this will be the job for you. As well as like you have to communicate with the clients and help, like basically like go to client meetings with the business analyst and help the team out with any problems they are facing and make sure that the team is delivering the project. That's what the project management job role. It's a basic idea of the project management job role. It's not the like entire thing. I'm rushing through these things because I think we are running out of time, as well as there are a few things I need to emphasize on this presentation. And as I mentioned, like this project manager is a person who will determine whether the project is going to make it or break it. So that's a really key job responsibility. And project managers, they have to make sure that they are working on they are focusing on the project 100%. So the job progression of this category would be starting as a project coordinator and then moving into associate, project manager, senior, and then head, and then finally project manager can end up as a VP project and business. All right, so the last career type which I'll be discussing is system support. System support engineers is like they'll be the people who are working with deployments. They'll have an idea about like AWS, like deployment structures, AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and they'll take what the software engineer has developed and the QA has tested and put it in the deployment environment and ship it to the client. So most of the time this job role is on shift, and you might be working 8-hour shift from time to time because most of the companies are providing 24-hour services. So in that case, you might have to work overnight. So it's a challenging job role, as I mentioned, but it's an interesting job role. So career progression would be starting as a trainee system engineer and as a manager in system support engineering. All right. So other industries which as an IT graduate can focus on is one being a system admin, and the other thing hardware engineering. So this is a very in Sri Lanka you might not see a good job role for hardware engineers, but that's a good career path you can take on. And the other thing being cloud and DevOps engineers. That's a really good and interesting path. And if you're interested in working with data science and data analysis, then you can start working as a data scientist or an R&D engineer. And if you are interested in like playing video games and you have an engineering background, you can become a game dev, because I think you have heard that there are several companies in Sri Lanka coming up with all these games. One being Kanchai and Extraction Valley. There are several games which Sri Lankan game developers have come up with. So that's a good path for you to focus on. And other industries other than tech, the things which you can focus on. There were so many questions about like joining a bank after a degree. So banking, like joining a bank is a really good option, because personally I have a few friends who have like completed their undergraduate degree with me, and then joined a bank. And it's an interesting field because all like whatever the industry which has a computer access or a system access, then they'll be definitely hiring computer science or IT undergraduates. And banking and finance would be one option for a banking. Then you will be managing their systems, like make sure that their online platforms are working properly. So things like that. And then science and research, like if you want to get into like maybe as a software engineer, as an IT graduate, you can help to find a cure for coronavirus, because all the data will be managed through a computer system, and then you can be the system admin and work in that path. And then sports analytics. If you watch the movie Moneyball, so in that movie they are all talking about analytics, like percentage of a player winning a given game. So in that way, like that's all about analytics and statistics. So if you can write a program to like make that easier, then you have a career path in that path as well. Again, transportation, Uber, Pick Me, there are so many like mobile based transportation mechanisms. So that's a path you can focus on. And the other thing being security. If you watch all these American TV series, American movies, then you know how national security is important for the countries, as well as how software engineers, how IT graduates are, IT people are tackling with these security. So if you can be a security consultant, security technician, then that's a good thing for you to good path for you to focus on. All right. So I would not do justice to this topic if I do not talk about startups. All right. If I do not talk about startups. So as a startup owner, as a person who started and started the startup. So this is something like I think everyone is dreaming to start their own startup. But the unfortunate thing is like if you 100 people start their own companies, maybe 5-6 people are going to the next step after the first year, because running a startup is really difficult. Because one thing, you have to have the skill, and the other thing, you have to have the financial backing. You have to have investors. You have to have a killer idea to sell. So there's a formula for startup, and if you don't have that formula, if you don't have mastered that formula, then it's going to be really difficult for you. And some people might start a company and then move into a corporate job just to get funding to that startup. And maybe after 5-6 months, the startup might die, and then that person might focus on the career progression. So having a startup, running a startup is a really good thing, but you have to make sure that you might have to face so many long nights. You might have to face so many sleepless nights, and you might not have like what you call a social life. You might have to always focus on working and working and working. So if you are willing to make these sacrifices for at least 1 or 2 years, and then startup might be the path for you, because if you actually if you are a successful startup owner, then that means that you are set for your life. You don't have yes, it's a stressful job, but you don't have to think about any of the corporate struggles. All right, so this is I wanted to get as soon as possible. So what the industry is expecting you from an undergraduate, and how to prep. So the first thing being skill. So there are things you can teach, and there are things you can't. Like no one can teach you. So if you are I saw so many questions asking whether you have to have an undergraduate degree in IT in order to become a software engineer. The simple answer, yes and no, both. So Sri Lanka is not yet equipped with having non-IT graduates to become a software engineer, because Sri Lanka has this very odd corporate culture where everyone is looking for the degree certificate. But here in Western and in European countries, because I'm working with software engineers who has never done software engineering as their undergraduate degree. I'm working with software engineers who have done biomedical degrees and then become a software engineer. So likewise, if you're focusing on staying in Sri Lanka, then having a degree certificate is an added advantage, and that'll set you for life. I mean, that'll help you to start your career in a good way. And those are the skills which you can taught from a degree program. But there are things you can't be taught, like problem solving skills. There's no curriculum for problem solving skills. Communication, there's no curriculum for communication. Leadership, how to lead a team, there's no curriculum for leadership as well. And coming up with product ideas, there's no curriculum for product ideas as well. So there are things which no one can teach you, so you have to figure them out by yourself. You have to listen to TED Talks, watch YouTube videos, and improve those skills, because that's something which the industry will expect of you. Because let's say if two people are facing the same interview, and one is coming up with a good university with the first class, and the other one is coming up with a private university or same university with a general degree, but the first class doesn't have the maybe communication, problem solving skills as the general person who has the general degree. So in that situation, they will not rank as the same. So now the companies are trying to get into all these skills which can't be taught. If you are good with problem solving, basically the main thing I'm emphasizing is problem solving skills, because that's something which companies are looking in candidates day by day. And the next point which I'll be discussing is flexibility. So if you are a trainee or an associate engineer, then you might have to accept new challenges, because if you are comfortable with front-end development, and if you get a task to do some back-end code, you can't say I can't do this back-end code because I'm not familiar with back-end code. So you have to learn that, and you have to make sure that you are delivering that. So always be open for opportunities, because who knows, maybe working on backend might be really good for you, because you might not have discovered the skill yet. So getting that task might be a good opportunity for you. So always be flexible, because that's how you unlock your hidden talents, unlock your hidden opportunities. So being flexible is something you have to, industry is expecting from a newcomer. And the next thing is commitment. You can't just work for as a software engineer or as a newcomer to the industry. You can't just work for 8 hours and say I'm done with that. You might have to work for more. Like, this is not recommended, but when you're stepping into the project, you might have to work for uh, 9-10 hours, and that again, that's not recommended. But the reason for that is like you can take 8 hours to get the work done, and you can utilize your own time to like research on different mechanisms, different maybe like program methods, and improve your work in the next day. So you always have to go the extra mile when you're in your first 3 years in the industry. So that's something industry is highly expecting from you, and you have to like start prepping yourself for that from this undergraduate days as well. And the last thing is like industry is expecting a good person to join their company. Like, if I'm a CEO and I'm expecting the newcomer to become a part of a team, because at an interview you'll not be selling your skill. So to sell your skill, you'll have a paper, you'll have an exam, and you already passed that. At an interview, at an HR interview, or at an VP interview, uh, at a VP interview, you'll be selling your personality. You'll be selling who you are. So whether you are a team player, whether you can like work with a team, or whether you are a loner, you can't just work with teams. You can just focus on something and get the work done. So that's what you're selling. So what I would recommend is like, don't try to alter your personality based on the company. Make sure that you are presenting yourself to the company. Because let's say if I'm looking for a team player and you're not a team player, and you are trying to like modify your answers for me to hire you, okay, you get the job. You start working as a software engineer in my company, but maybe in 1 or 2 months, you'll get frustrated with your job, because that's not who you are. You can't act forever. So make sure that you are finding a company which suits your personality, and improve your like. It's like during the interview, you sell your personality to the person who's interviewing you. So that's a good thing, which will help you to. That's one of the things which one last thing in the industry is expecting from you, and that's something you should prepare yourself. All right. So now let's take a look back at the things we've discussed and how you can have a better career progression. All right. So this is something which I wanted to discuss in length: career growth and personal growth. Because when you get into an industry, most of the time companies are only focusing on your career growth, because they want to give you a good salary, a good bonus, and that's your expectation as well. Like, if your friend is getting maybe 10-15,000 more than 10-15,000 more than you, then your main goal is to like exceed that. You need to get 20,000 more salary than your friend. So that's the career growth, like getting a good salary, getting bonuses, and having timely promotions, and also benefits, healthcare benefits, transport benefits, likewise all these benefits, and having a good industry reputation, and job offers. So job offers as in like, you don't have to apply for a job. If you have a good reputation, companies might try to poach you, try to get you to that company. So that's your career growth. But the most important thing is personal growth. You have to maintain a good work-life balance. If you are spending 8 hours at the office, then you have to spend 8 hours with your family, with your kids, with your loved ones, with your parents. So that's something all the IT employees IT people are missing. That's something you have to work on. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, like spending time with your family and going on vacations. Because if you talk to any of the like software engineers, associate engineers in the industry, they might say that, Machang, I don't even have time to talk to my girlfriend. I'm really stuck with work. I'm really busy with this one, and I can't go out with like. If you're planning a trip, they might say that I can't go on this trip. I have to work on this weekend. So likewise. So if you're someone like that, make sure that you are avoiding that, because that's a very bad thing in your personal growth. All right. So the other thing, which is really important, higher education opportunities. Because if you have a plan for higher education, then you should plan your career progression with that. Because let's say if you want to go for your PhD, if you want to start your masters and everything, it's better for you to like take an instructor role at the university and become an associate lecturer, and then have maybe like apply for a scholarship for a master's or a PhD, and follow on that path. But if you're really looking into become if you're really looking into get into the industry, then you have to select that path. So personal growth, like even though you are in the industry, you should have to like you should have time to work on your masters. If you're working as a software engineer, then you can complete your masters in computer science or software engineering. That's something you have to focus on as a part of personal growth. Again, you whatever you do, like if you're earning 100,000 500,000 per month, you have to have time to spend that money, because I I wouldn't say like saving everything you earn is a good thing, because you will not live your life. The reason you might be selecting a good paying job, good paying career path, and especially selecting this path, because I'm pretty sure that when you're selecting this path, your friends or your relatives might say that, okay, that's a good path. You'll be able to make so much money when you're working as a software engineer. I'm pretty sure that you've heard of these things. But if you're earning that much, you should have the time to spend that as well, like live your life. Make sure that you plan your earnings, plan your savings, and then have some time to live your life. And if you're planning to migrate and travel overseas, you should start working on those plans as soon as possible. If you're planning to migrate, then prepare your documents, prepare your higher education certificates and everything. So that's something you have to work on as part of personal growth. All right. So this is the last part which I'll be discussing, and we've been going for, I think, more than 1 hour, and leaving a mark in the tech industry. So this is really difficult, because I think there are more than 30,000 software engineers in Sri Lanka. But how many of them can you name? Like how many of them you know? Because if you can maybe like if companies are reaching out to you to come and work for them, then you have made a mark. And that's really difficult, because to do that, you have to commit to your job and do it 100%, and maybe 150%. That's why I said, like, you can work for 10 hours. Check. There are some questions which I'll go through later. And let's say, like, you have to commit, as I mentioned, like you have to commit and do your job and build a brand. Because I've read several articles about like how a software engineer or an undergraduate can build their brand, because people might be different. Because I might be an expert in front end development, and Manakal will be an expert in back end development. Whatever the area I'm focusing on, I have to make sure that I'm someone who always uh, delivers a result, not an excuse. Like whatever said and done, let's say client is coming up with and asking for a quick change, and I should be able to deliver that and make sure that make sure I show the client that I'm someone who always deliver. And that's the fourth point. And the third point being help out the community, because whatever you have gained, whatever you have experienced, because if you can share that with someone else, then you're helping someone out to avoid that problems, like, or maybe have a better opportunity than you. And that way you'll leave a mark as someone who's always helping out the community. So that's a good thing, because you can join a not-for-profit organization and maybe like utilize 1 or 2 hours of your time and to help someone else. So there are so many ways you can leave a mark, which could be a good one or a bad one. But I would recommend for you to like look into opportunities and try to help out the community and make sure that you do your job well. All right, that's a long time I've been talking, and now quickly get into some of the Q&As. And all right, so these are some of the questions which you have submitted to Manakal, which I asked. And I think I have 4 or 5 questions here. And in the meantime, if you can submit questions, and Manakal, if you can list them down and vote them up, and then we can go through those things.
Yes.
All right. So there's a question about machine learning, data science, deep learning, data science, networking, and data analysis. So I'm not sure what the question was. I think what are the career opportunities in these paths? So I started my career as a data analyst engineer. So you can like if you're really into machine learning, then you should like there are so many courses. Like Google is providing some free courses, and I'm hearing. All right. Google is providing with some free courses which you can follow up on. And all right, which you can follow up on. And there are so many opportunities, because now most of the companies are focusing on AI and chatbots and neural networks and everything. So the career opportunities for this path is growing, and you will definitely have an opportunity in this path. But you have to make sure that you are self-learning, because when I was in my undergraduate year, we only had one module for AI, and that's it. Like most of the universities are not focusing on this part, but if you can actually start self-learning, like if you go to Udemy, there are some free courses and there are some paid courses as well for data science and data analysis, which you can follow up on. And the career path for this is still building, and you will have a uh, good career progression in this path if you actually start learning them right now.
Excuse me, sir. I think there's a relevant question for AI and machine learning. What are the opportunities in AI machine learning fields for computer science majoring students with statistics? There's a question.
Statistics, yeah. So, all right, let me think. So, is it on Slido?
No, I think it's from the group chat. I thought that it will be relevant what you're talking
Yeah.
right now.
All right. So I need to check that question again. Where's that one? Undergraduate. All right. So I don't see that. All right. So for computer science computer science undergraduate who are doing statistics along with that, then that's a good career opportunity, because as I mentioned, like artificial intelligence is a vague term, because that covers so many parts. Like if you're actually focusing on predictive analysis and data analysis, so there are so many areas as a statistics major who can you can focus on. Especially when like if you are, one more thing is data science. So if you are a statistics major, then you can focus on a path in data science, because there are so many companies who are working with big data. One company being like there are companies in Sri Lanka who are focusing on stock market ratings. So if you are a data statistics major, then there are career opportunities for you in that path as well. So I'm sorry, I'm not giving the detailed answer, but as a summary, there are so many opportunities in the industry where you can focus on as a statistics major.
I think she got the answer.
All right. So, this is an interesting question which I wanted to address, which I got from the list which you have shared. The like basically the what will happen to the IT industry in this pandemic situation, and the next step for that. Nothing will happen to the IT industry, because right now I think for the last 6-7 months I've been working from home, because IT industry, you don't have to go to an office and maybe sit with friends and start coding. IT, like this industry is entirely built on working remotely, and you don't have to have a commitment to that. But I would say there will be so many opportunities, because I'll give you an example. Like in Canada, Canadian government has come up with an application to detect COVID exposure. So that kind of an application was not there until this June, but someone has come up with that, and now there are like millions and millions of downloads for that application. So likewise, if you are a mobile developer, if you are a web developer, or basically like if you are working with data science, if you are like, okay, I'll give an example for data science as well. Like if you're working with data, and if there's a way for you to like get all the statistics for COVID patients, and maybe predict what would be the next district this patient will like this symptom like COVID will spread to. So you can like if you can analyze the data, and if you can predict that, then that's a huge opportunity for you. So I would not say it would be like, I would say the IT industry will grow based on like because of this COVID situation, because there are so many areas which you can focus on. Okay, I'll give you an example. So scientists are studying a video game right now to analyze the spread of this COVID behavior, because in World of Warcraft in 2010 or 12, so they had a bug which all these game members will infect with a disease, and now they're analyzing how they contain that to contain COVID. So there are so many things which you can work on, because if you have thought about that earlier, that means you'll always have opportunity. So I would say industry will grow, industry will have more opportunities with or without this COVID situation in the world. All right. So this one is an interesting question, and I would try to answer this without being biased to any of the countries. But if you want to get the best out of your degree, and if you want to earn a lot of money and live a life, then like other countries will have a better opportunity, because in tech industry in Sri Lanka, even though it has been there for like 40, 50 years, but still it's very limited, because uh, I would not say it's a bad deal, because right now tech industry in Sri Lanka is a highly paying job, because whoever, like, comparing to other industries, the salary scales, job opportunities, and everything is really high, and you can live a luxury life if you're actually comfortable in this industry. But since you're asking about what are the other countries, I would say European countries are really good, and also like American countries. And then if you can join a FANG company, FANG as in Facebook, Amazon, and Netflix, so all these high, like Amazon, all these high paying company, then that means like you'll be set for life. But then again, you might have to like work some extra hours, and getting a job opportunity is really difficult in one of those companies. And all the companies are like trying to focus for their citizens, their people, to give more job opportunities. And if you are going to get a job opportunity from one of those companies, then that means you have to prove yourself, and you have to create a brand. You have to make sure that I'm the best person for this job, so you'll have to give me this job. So likewise, so those are the ways you can get a job. But if you're planning to migrate, then Australia is a good option. I think that's Australia is like, now it's being like a colony of Sri Lanka, because there are so many Sri Lankans there. And Canada is a good option. US, European countries, Germany, Switzerland, all these companies, like if you're planning to migrate, then those are really good opportunities. And one more thing, as an entry point, so many Sri Lankan undergraduates, so many Sri Lankan freshmen are going to Singapore to do their job, because that's a growing market. And they like because of the visa situation, they hire Sri Lankans. So if you're planning to just to work for a company, because and you can't get the permanent residency or citizenship in Singapore. So if you're planning to go and work there, then Singapore is also a good option. And again, you don't have to worry about the qualification. You don't have to worry about the paper qualification, as long as you have the skill. Because most of the people in American countries, most of the software engineers in American countries, they're coming up with boot camps. They're self-learning. They are going for boot camps, and they are improving their skills, and they are getting.
So, all right. So that will be that part. So, all right. Give me a second. All right. So as I mentioned, like if you're interested in that part, then that's something you can focus on. All right. About the career opportunities, how we can develop the coding skills. All right. So the answer to this question is right over here, because to improve your coding skills, whatever you have to do is like you have to keep on practice. And let's say you want to become a good mobile developer, like you have to focus, like you need to focus on mobile app development. Come up with an idea, start writing code. There's no other way to improve your skill. And if you don't have an idea, try to mirror a project. Let's say you want to write a communication app. Start copying WhatsApp. Like create a prototype for WhatsApp. You know all the functionalities, you know how it works. So start coding, because there aren't any shortcuts in software engineering or any of the career paths. You have to work. You have to improve your skills. You have to keep yourself up to date with all the frameworks. Let's say you might not be happy with Vue.js, and then try it with Angular and improve your Angular skills, because that might be something in your strong suit. Because what are the qualifications we need to? So again, in Sri Lanka, what are the qualifications you need is the paper qualification. But anywhere else in the world, the companies will focus on your scale. I know, like in Sri Lankan companies, some of the companies are actually focusing on the scale, but they'll have the degree certificate as the base qualification. But what I would recommend is, since you are all undergraduate, do complete your degree very well, get your bachelor's degree, and then in the meantime, do all the certifications, do Scrum Master certification, do Microsoft certifications, and do Google certifications and everything and improve yourself. Because how to get hands-on experience in an effective manner, start working on projects. Like there are so many open source projects that you can contribute, and contributing in open source project will definitely help you, because that will build your brand, because your GitHub ratings will go up, and that's a really good thing which you can work on. All right. Now let's go for some live questions. Monica, do you have any questions?
There are some questions in the Slido, I think.
There are, all right. All right. All right, maybe
Most of
like,
them have been answered.
sorry?
I think most of them have been answered.
Yeah, but still, machine learning and the trends in computing as undergraduate we can do. All right, so I'll say this. I'll maybe like briefly explain these two area, like discussion as well, because is it must to have a degree to enter the tech industry? So Gihan, maybe like can you specify whether it's in Sri Lanka or away? Then I can focus my answer, because in Sri Lanka having a degree is, I would say, people like HR and the companies are mainly focusing on the degree certificate, because that would be the base entry point. So I would not recommend that, but unfortunately that's how it's happening in the tech industry. And maybe like trends in cloud computing. Unfortunately, I'm not an expert in cloud computing, but I would say like get yourself familiar with all the maybe like Google certifications, and because there are so many certifications provided by Google and free, which will help you to improve your skills in this area. Any other questions, guys?
There are some other questions in the chat also. There's a question about this the Kendo certifications. I think that will be helpful for me also.
Let's see. Okay. Let me open the chat. There are so many vendor certification of CPR. All right. So the interesting part is like yeah, you're asking about what's the most valuable certification. I would say all the certificates are valuable because you'll be improving yourself. But there are so many vendors. Of course, there are so many vendor certifications. If you're entering as an intern, and so if you're entering as an intern, and first, as I mentioned, like to get an internship, you only thing you have to have is a good basic knowledge and the basic idea of the programming language. And when if you're entering as a like maybe into a permanent position, then having certifications might have an advantage when you're getting into the industry. It might help you to like land a good opportunity. And if you're up for a promotion, then this will definitely help you with promotions as well. But what I would recommend is, don't do a course just because it's going to help you with your career progression, or it's going to help you with getting a job. Do a course which if that's actually help you with your end goal, like if that's the target area which you're going to focus on. The reason why I did my project like product and project management certification, because that's the area which I'm focusing on, and that helped me a lot, and that gave me more information about how to manage a product, which I have never gotten in any of my academic days. So as I mentioned, like there are so many like CCN, like for networking CCNP, and likewise all these certifications. And for Microsoft, I think there are some certifications as well. So I would say pick the one which is, I know some of these certifications are a little bit expensive for an undergraduate. So do the research. Go like if someone like if you ask me about like all the product management certification, I can give you a detailed detailed discussion, because I can talk to someone who has already completed this certification and then ask for these questions, and then I think that will help you. But the only recommendation I would give is, yes, it might have some advantage when you're applying for a job, and if you're applying for when you're up for a promotion. But don't do any certification just to get that advantage. Do a certification, do something which will help you in your career path and which will help you to improve yourself as a professional. So that would be my recommendation for that.
Thank you, sir. I think that was a very good explanation. So there's another question from Kavi. What are the opportunities available for undergraduates in different streams like arts, commerce, and bio?
Yeah. So undergraduates in different streams. So arts, commerce, and bio, whatever the A-level stream you had, I would like if you're following up a CS or IT degree, basically like if you have an undergraduate degree in computer science or IT, I think was that what she meant?
I think so. There are now the government is providing opportunities for in various streams like arts and commerce to do IT related degrees. I think what she meant is that.
Oh yeah, I think it was there since few years back as well. Like if you are doing arts and I think there's a chance for you to enter University of Morocco Information Technology faculty. So there are opportunities like that. And yes, if you are really good at what you do, and if you're following up a computer science or an IT degree, then there are so many opportunities. Whatever, like I wouldn't say there are still some companies who are asking for your A-level stream, and but there are so many companies who are not even focusing on that, because if you're working on IT, like there's a very rare case where you'll use your chemistry knowledge, right? So I would say like there are some companies which will focus on your bachelor's degree and which are on your skill. And I know like there are some companies who are specifically hiring QA engineers who have done arts for their A levels, and but they have an IT degree. So there are opportunities available for QA engineers. And again, regardless of the degree, if you are really good with communication and really good with client negotiation, you can easily go for a business analyst opportunity. And if you have like people management and project management skill, you can still go for project management job opportunity. And if you're really good at programming, you can definitely go for a programming job as well. That's entirely up to the way you're presenting yourself at the interview, and the way how the interviewer, the recruiter, will look at your profile and look at you, and that's entirely based on that. So I would say there are so many opportunities, but that might take some digging. That might take some time to dig around and try to find for a good opportunity for which will suit you. Yeah. So there's another
I
question.
also have a question.
Yeah.
So Sri Lankan students are always very smart, but they lack certain skills to uplift themselves to foreign corporate sector. So, what are the areas they should develop to go abroad and expose themselves in this field?
All right. So that's a really good question. I don't think that I'm taking so much of your time, but I'll answer this one. This is something you should know, because there's this skill type called soft skills, but I would frame that as not soft skills, but what you call essential skills. The reason being, some of the essential skills are presenting yourself, doing a presentation, improving good, having a good communication, having good communication skills, fluent in different languages. It could be English, like when it comes to the okay, it could be English or it could be some other language, and presenting you like explaining yourself, like presenting yourself to an interviewer. So most of like when you are interviewing with a foreign company, let's say I'm interviewing one of you guys and I'm representing a foreign company. Only thing I care about is your technical skills, because I'm aware that English is the secondary language for Sri Lankans. So if a company is judging you from that criteria, then that's a very unethical behavior, because the only thing companies will, as I mentioned in my what the industry is expecting from you, in like the companies are expecting a good way you are presenting yourself to the clients, so if you are presenting yourself to the recruiters. So the the lacking parts that Sri Lankan undergraduates, Sri Lankan students, Sri Lankan employees have is this communication skills, how to present yourself, because this will not come to you by studying an English course, or maybe like completing your IELTS or whatever the case. This will come by practicing, because if you like talk with your friend, like do mock interviews, And I know like there are some online platforms which help you with mock interviews as well. Do mock interviews and try to because even though you are the brilliant you are one of the brilliant software engineers in the country, if you can write maybe like really advanced logics, because when it comes to a technical interview, okay, the first thing they'll ask is they'll send you an assignment and they'll ask you to complete that assignment, and the next on screen they'll ask you to explain your logic, explain what you have done in that program. That's something really difficult, because if you can't explain what you have done, let's say if you have copied something from Stack Overflow and pasted it in and make sure that it works, but still, if you can't explain what you have done, then you will not get that job. Because explaining what you have, because when it comes to like client demonstration or technical reviews, you will have to explain what you have done. So that's really important. That's something you have to focus on. And then speaking, like make sure that you're presenting yourself. So those are the things I think everyone should improve. Like especially presenting yourself to the recruiter, because I know that like I've worked with some of brilliant software engineers, brilliant people in Sri Lanka, but they've stuck in a single place without moving, without like they can't go to the next step. They are lacking these skills. So I would recommend like start practicing your talking, like start practicing your interviews, start conversing in English to improve your skills. I know like no one will judge you if you can't speak in a different language, but that'll add you a huge advantage when you're applying for job opportunities in Sri Lanka as well as away from Sri Lanka.
Yeah, I think those were some valuable inputs for the undergraduates as well as me. Though we have to, it's almost 8:06. Though we have to conclude the session due to the time factor, I wish we had more time to enlighten ourselves on this.
Yeah, so with that, I'll wrap, like, as I mentioned, like I'll wrap up the session. And what I would always leave all my presentation with this quote, because whatever you are doing, always do something to make a difference. It could be in yourself, or it could be to the society. Whatever you are doing, make sure that you do something to make a difference. And again, if you have any questions, please you can reach out to me. And I think you can reach out to me with these email addresses and or DM me on Twitter. And I'll help you guys. Like if I have like based on my availability, I'll help you guys with any of the questions you have. So with that, I think we can wrap up my session. Over to you.
Before the vote of thanks, let's give a bit of space for the OGT LCVP, Miss Anuttara. There's an important message for all the students. Please don't leave. The session isn't over yet. Miss Anuttara.
Thank you very much for the space provided. So, like, I'll start from where he stopped, our keynote speaker. So he said, like, do something different. So I'm here to give you an opportunity to do something different. So what I offer is I'm going to give you an opportunity with Isaac Sri Lanka, with Isaac in University of California, that you could like develop yourself and you could get a professional experience abroad by working abroad as an intern. But I should mention that it's not going to be just an internship. It's going to be like today in session you talked about, like keynote speaker talked about personal growth as well as about career growth. So by going on an exchange with us, what you will get is you will get to develop yourself in both these areas, not only career but also as a person you will get the chance to grow. So this is the opportunity that we are providing you. So most of the audience today here, they were interested in IT, software engineering maybe. So we have opportunities related to IT, we have opportunities related to software engineering. And if you have friends who are interested in business administration, maybe business development, maybe like teaching, maybe so marketing. So in all the areas, we are here to give you an opportunity as an undergraduate or as a graduate. Like before you are 30, grab this chance. So we are here to help you. Isaac in University of California is here to help you. So we have number of countries, and there are certain countries that he mentioned as like you could be like somewhat like you could develop yourself with them. So we have those countries in hand, so we can help you giving this opportunity for you to grab this, and you can develop yourself. And also when it comes to salary, you might be wondering like will I get paid? Yes, you will get paid. Like if you take like, if I like roughly tell you, it depends with the opportunity, but it's like 3 lakhs or 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs, even 5 lakhs when it comes to LKR you could earn if you are a bachelor's holder. So try it. And if it comes to the time duration, we have 3 months, 6 months, and also more than 1 year. So I am pretty sure that if you grab this chance, your CV will be outstanding, because you have a professional experience, a professional training, a professional working experience abroad, which will make you outstanding. So thank you very much for the time given. And you could like contact me via WhatsApp or just give a personal message or call. So I will elaborate you on the opportunities that we have. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Manakal. And thank you for the interesting session, the keynote speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anuttara. So let's move on to the vote of thanks by Ms. Sandale.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandali Senaviratna. I'm an organizing committee member of Cybersify project. I'm sure we all are extremely satisfied with this excellent session. It was something that we all were waiting eagerly for. This wouldn't have happened unless the kind of sacrifices and immense efforts of some beautiful people. Mr. Kavindu Narathota, sir, our heartfelt gratitude for volunteering and guiding us throughout this session, and finally making it a very fruitful session for me and my colleagues. Then ISEC Executive Board of Colombo North for opening this kind of opportunity for undergraduates, the organizing committee president Manakal, and the rest of the committee members for your untiring efforts to make this event a success. Finally, participants, for all enthusiastic participants for being here today. You have been such a passionate and enthusiastic lot. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Sandali. A small message, we are sharing a virtual feedback form. Please be kind enough to fill it. So for all who have registered for this session, we'll email it. And the link to the recording of the session will be shared among all the registered participants. And so during the pandemic, you lovely people need to be safe and healthy. Wash your hands, keep your distance, and be happy. Until we meet in another session of this kind, good night all.